Today on the 10-12 podcast, Ari Temkin of Big 12 Radio joins us to talk about the Big 12 potentially selling its naming rights and a partnership that, while will be beneficial, also comes with a lot of downsides. That is, of course, private equity, and a big week for Charlie Hustle.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Whoa. Landing an account this big will totally change my landscaping business. It's going to mean hiring more guys and more equipment and new trucks for the new guys to drive the new equipment in. I don't know if I'm ready.
You can do this, and Ford Pro FinSimple can help. Our experts are ready to make growing pains less painful for your business with flexible financing solutions that meet the needs of your business today when you need them. Get started at fordpro.com/financing.
Welcome to the 10-12, the podcast that covers all 14 teams in the Big 12 Conference, plus Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. We are the flagship show of the 10-12 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. And of course, we are partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip, and thank you for joining us today. Ari Temkin of Big 12 Radio is going to join us to talk about Big 12 selling its naming rights potentially to All-State, his thoughts on that, and of course, private equity. Look, you got to make money. I get it, okay? Sometimes we have to partner with people that we don't want to. Sometimes we get to partner with cool people like Charlie Hustle. Like, I love that. I love that we get to be partnered with Charlie Hustle. We might as well just talk about Charlie Hustle for a second, because the Big 8 College Roadshow begins today, Monday. Big 8 gear on Monday, 1970s ringers on Tuesday, 1980s soda can designs on Thursday. Friday are some 1990s, and then Saturday they got some cool championship tees. They are throwing out some Big 8 gear all week long at Charlie Hustle. So if you're a Big 8 fan, that's Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, yeah, still included in there, Colorado, Kansas State, Iowa State. Oh man, yeah. Nebraska. They got some awesome gear and some actual like Big 8 gear, like Big 8, like the Big 8 conference gear. I cannot wait to see it. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be incredible. So you're going to want to pay attention to Charlie Hustle all week long. They're going to be launching stuff on the website. If you don't follow them on social media, Charlie Hustle Co. on Twitter. That's the handle. Go check it out. And do not forget the promo code 101215. TEN1215 gets you 15% off all non-sale items. That's 101215. TEN1215. Oh, they've got so much stuff. And it's not just there. They're going to have some absolutely great stuff coming next week as well, with gear with bomber jackets. Bomber jackets next week. Kansas State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, all among the schools that will get some awesome new bomber jackets. Colorado as well. So just pay attention to Charlie Hustle. Let's just call this the first few weeks of an absolute summer of incredible, exciting stuff coming from our friends at Charlie Hustle. So charliehustle.com, that's where you can find everything. Don't forget that promo code 101215. Big 8 week this week. Big 8 College Roadshow. Cannot wait. Charlie Hustle, vintage made fresh. See, there's some financial partnerships that are both mutually beneficial, and you just love being able to be partnered with those people. It's such a cool thing to partner with people who also love what you love, like the Big 12. So we're going to talk about that. I've thought a lot lately about all the concerns and fears of everything that's coming, ruining college sports. And when I think about college sports, and I think about the teams that I love, and watching the games on Saturdays for football, on Thursdays and Fridays as well, college basketball throughout the weekend on Saturday, softball through the weekends, baseball through the weekend. I think about college athletics from a standpoint of watching the teams I love play the games that I enjoy. The sport's going to be fine. The sport's going to be fine. All of it is. The sports will be fine. They will still be something you enjoy watching. If you just enjoy watching it to see the team that you love go out there and perform on their field of choice or court, the sport's fine. The sport itself, the game itself, enjoying that on a Saturday is fine. Man, the off season sucks. And look, we've always had the off season of being just, like, oh, we got to wait for things to start. But we used to have recruiting, right? You could follow recruiting through the summer. That was always enjoyable. Now there's pessimism. So you're like, what does it matter? The kid's probably going to leave for some other school, get bought with an IL, or, I don't actually believe those are the only reasons they leave. But just the point is that you get too many people who think like recruiting doesn't matter anymore because they're not even going to stay here. The most drama we used to see is like a coach scandal that would throw a fan base into turmoil. Now it's private equity money coming to destroy sports. It's whose conference is still going to exist in the next 5 years. It's just our team and our conference have enough money to even feel like we can compete for the thing that only people care about, which is a national championship and playoff. I love the games, and I love watching them. And I like the conversation during the season. And I like the silly conversations about preseason rankings and believing with all of your heart that your offensive line is going to finally be good this year, or your redshirt freshman quarterback is the second coming of name the best quarterback who was a sophomore, right? Like we're just, I love that part. Those are the parts I love, but the rest of it, the off seasons, man, just the talking season sucks so much more now because everything just feels so negative. I'm ready for Saturdays. I'm ready for games. I'm ready to enjoy this stuff. I'm ready to finish all this prep work I'm doing on running backs and quarterbacks so I can just talk about players and speculation and fun things. I loved having Kelly Ford on last week and talking about actual like football and preseason predictions and those kinds of things. Like those are fun. That's fun. That's good stuff. The stuff we're going to talk about today, like, I don't like it. I don't love it. It's not fun. It's kind of funny, talking about like it could be the All State 12 or whatever conference. I don't dislike the transfer portal and all that. It's just not the same. Off season's just very different than it used to be. The games are good, but the time in between them, I don't like it as much as I used to. With all that said, Ari Temkin. Let's get to it. Well, we'll call it the Big 12 for now. Not sure how much longer we'll actually refer to it as that, or if this is going to be like a Twitter X sort of situation. I think it will always be the Big 12 in our hearts, no matter what name it is come August. And so to break down this news regarding Big 12 selling the name for some cash and the dirtiest two words in sports right now, private equity, to help break these two pieces of information down, our good friend Ari Temkin of Big 12 Radio. Ari, welcome back, man.
Come on, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I turn 40 this year, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not looking forward to it.
Why not? It's better than the alternative, isn't it? Or is it not in your case?
What alternative? Aging backwards, Benjamin Button style? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that could be an alternative. I was just thinking of more like a human, realistic alternative to aging, kind of...
Yes, it would probably be better to turn 40 than to cease
aging,
advancing in age. And
yeah. So
is decomposing considered aging?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Maybe. But here's what I'll say: the older you get, the smarter you are, and if you aren't, then you've waited. I mean, this is like the Muhammad Ali quote. A man who sees the world at 50 the same way at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. So it's so you're good, man. 40. I'm 30. I'm going to be 39 in August. So we're both getting there. So yeah, we're old. That's for sure.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
It's actually really interesting. So there's this psychological study that they did for years, and they would talk to somebody, let's say in their 20s, and say like, okay, who are your friends? What kind of music do you listen to? What do you like? What are your favorite things? What are your foods to eat? And then they would interview them again at 30, and then 40, and then 50, and then every 10 years. And what they found was no matter what age you were, you always thought you were a finished product, even though the next 10 years you had changed dramatically every time. And so even though you were acknowledging that, hey, I changed a lot last 10 years. I look back and these are my friends. This is the food I like. No, it's changed a lot. I live here now. We always think, no, but it won't change that much in the next 10 years. It always does.
So I expect change over the next decade. I'm just, I don't know. I didn't like 30. There was a weird feeling turning 30, so I'm like dreading turning 40. So I'm like, well, if I didn't enjoy turning 30, I'm not sure I'm going to.
But did you enjoy your 30s?
I mean, highs and lows. There's goods and I'm going to make the most out of it.
You had like 15 girls in your 30s? So
sometimes when they're all yelling at the same time, you would be hard pressed to actually count how many of them are in the house at one time. But that's what happens with kids.
It's a little easier when they're teenagers too.
Speaking of change, the only constant in life is change, and the Big 12's going through it. In July, of course, we'll have 4 new teams, and we may have a new name. The news coming out that the Big 12 is considering selling naming rights. Out would be the big part of the name, and in would be a company name instead. Right now, the leader in the clubhouse is All-State. Staying in it would be the 12 because of the things to keep the number that is no longer accurate and has not been for some time in describing how many teams are actually in this conference, but apparently seems to bear all of the branding weight, would stay. So it would be All-State 12 or Whataburger, whatever company it is, and we can talk about those in a minute. General thoughts from you, Ari. I know you've probably talked about this on Big 12 Radio quite a bit, but I could just, setting whatever company it is aside, just the idea of the Big 12 selling the conference's naming rights in this fashion.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, and it's important to start here. As we know, the conference, from a television revenue standpoint, is facing a dramatic chasm between what the Big 12 has in TV rights and the SEC and the Big 10 moving forward, right? So the reason Brett Yormark was hired was for this reason. It was to figure out a way to bridge the gap in revenue. And remember, when Brett Yormark was hired, we didn't even have a TV deal. So now that we have that, we know what the actual chasm is, and it's substantial. It's twice as much, right? So, okay, you look at a deal like the naming rights. I mean, you're talking about $2.5 million per year. A lot of money to us, right? But in a conference that needs 30 to 40 million more per year than it's getting, it's not moving the needle a ton. Private equity, and I'm sure we'll get into that, is going to move the needle a ton in that regard. But forgetting about what it is we're talking about here, the task and purpose of what Brett Yormark is doing is finding more and more revenue streams and being creative about ways to find those revenue streams. Arch and I on Big 12 Radio have talked a ton about are these things the best interests of college football and college athletics? And, there used to be sort of an eye on both of them, right? An eye on revenue, and an eye on, is this what's in the best interest of the sport? Brett Yormark's background, he didn't come from a place where he, was tasked with caring and protecting the things that have made college athletics what it is, right? So he's got no interest in the status quo and protecting, let's just say, like, sports across the board. I mean, this is, if you think about what college sports had been previously, it was socialism, right? It was football would bring in all of the money in men's basketball, and then that would be reapplied across the board to all the other sports. And that's what funded, and that's what's funding entire athletic departments, football and men's basketball. In this is a more capitalistic world, something we're more used to, where you've got to invest or you can make money. And I think, that's the concern about the public, the private equity money, and that's the concern, with what Yormark is doing. But for somebody that's hoping for the future viability of the conference, this is what's needed. The conference, is there a straight line between revenue and winning? I mean, we talked to Chris Kleiman this week. He said yes, certainly it would make sense. But the Big 12 has not won a national championship in the current 4-team era. We know that. So it's lagged behind these other conferences, specifically the SEC, and specifically Georgia and Alabama and LSU, the 3 teams that have won titles out of the SEC in this era. It's lagging there already without a 2-to-1 or 1-to-2 television ratio. So this is all a product of that. I didn't answer your question, which is, how do I feel about selling the naming rights to the conference? I mean, it to a degree it sucks, right? I mean, it's part of the things of the old guard of college athletics are going away, the things that we love about it. I don't know why you keep the 12. Maybe there's some research that they've done internally that says that the 12 matters for a brand. I think at this point, if you're rebranding, why wouldn't you go 16? But I think it also has to make sense. This is one of those things that it's being reported, and so everybody's throwing out like funny branding opportunities. But you're in good hands with the Big 12, like that. You know what I mean? Like the branding of the company in Allstate makes sense with something you want to be associated with. I brought this up before. I'm wearing a White Sox hat. The White Sox play Guaranteed Rate Field, whose logo is an arrow pointing down. Not the greatest branding opportunity for a team when you think about going to their ballpark and seeing an arrow pointing down, because that's the Guaranteed Rate logo. So not an appropriate branding opportunity there that the White Sox probably shouldn't have done. The Big 12, I would think, would be a little bit better about, finding the right branding opportunity for the conference name.
Well, I mean, and Allstate, this is the company who does the Mayhem commercials. And if there's a conference that's going to be absolute mayhem from and you're in good hands from a football, trying to figure out who's going to get to the championship
more
game.
Money in college football than Allstate. Allstate spends so much money in college football.
I get it. It seems silly and weird. And it's another example of, this is where we are in college athletics, of you're going to have to find ways to make money. Like, you're just gonna, and you're going to have to do things you maybe not want to do so. And look, 30 to 50 million is somewhere between just shy of 2 million and just over 3 per school. It's not massive money per school, but like, it's fine. Like the Big 12, here's the thing for the Big 12, in my mind, is you're already going to get crap from everybody because you're not the SEC and you're not the Big 10. Like, you already are. It's already, they can't win a national championship. Well, they're going to be fun because they're crazy. It's these weird 16 teams. Like, you're already getting this from everybody anyway. And so worrying what are people going to think if we change the name of the conference? Well, they're going to think the same thing they already think of you. So I don't care from the perception standpoint. It's like, oh, well, they kept that. It's a good thing they didn't change to that All-State and take that extra $2.5 million per team and kept that Big 12. Now we have more respect for this conference. No, you don't.
Right.
Like, no. Right. Like, I don't care. You already think the way of me you think. So whatever. Let's make a little bit extra cash because we're going to need that. We're going to need that.
Let me just also say, it's not going to happen this season. We're too close to the season. This is something that's 2025 and beyond.
And I think that makes sense. Like, we'll hear more news about it, and it'll be one of those things where the deal gets announced during the season. There's a lot of conversation about it again, but it doesn't kick off till till July of next year.
Right.
Which is, I think, when the new TV contract doesn't start till July of next year anyways. Right. So it feels like that would all kind of come together at the same time.
The other thing I'll say too is, I think the fact that it's being reported says that there might have been a deal that was in place that is now kind of up in the air, and that's where with McMurphy reporting on Allstate, and then Dodd basically saying like, I think some of the other states are saying like, yeah, it seems like kind of the Allstate deal may have fallen through, or it's still up in the air. Whereas like we might have heard, hey, the Big 12 has agreed to a deal to sell its naming rights to Allstate before we heard the story being reported. And part of that is probably, I would imagine, due to the kind of ongoing discussions in private equity, which in some ways might usurp the need to get $2 to $3 million per year out of revenue scale for the conference naming rights. And this is where the metaphor that it makes me think of from like the SEC and the Big Ten perception. It's like Kathy Bates, her character in Titanic, or like nouveau riche, where like all the other rich people look down on us because it's like, well, you might be in the same category as us, but you've got private equity money. You're not like us. Like it would be the same kind of thing from that regard. And look, I mean, I think the pros and the cons of the PE stuff are obvious.
Yeah, the private equity stuff, man.
If you're struggling to lose weight, you've probably heard about weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound, and you might be wondering if they're right for you. Meet PlushCare, a leading telehealth provider with doctors who are there for you day and night to partner with you in your weight loss journey. If you qualify, they can safely prescribe you medication from the comfort of your own home. To get started, visit plushcare.com/weightloss. That's plushcare.com/weightloss. plushcare.com/weightloss.
Like there's things that you're willing to do for money, and there's things that is the money worth it? Because let's think about what the view of private equity is, because we have the history, especially when it comes to sports. Like SB Nation is basically gone because of private equity. Sports Illustrated is, and yes, there's other things for Sports Illustrated, the decline in magazine sales, but it's dead because of private equity. Like the idea, like your favorite restaurant is either more expensive or sucks now,
right?
Because of private equity,
right.
Their staff is now miserable. The food quantity is smaller. The quality isn't as good.
Right.
Yeah, like private equity has one goal, and that is to make money. And whatever makes them the most money is what's going to happen. This isn't like, hey, we're invested in this, and we're okay, and we're willing to make a few thousand less if it means that this thing continues to survive. No, if I can make a few $1,000s more and tear this thing to parts, I'm going to tear it down to parts and make a few grand extra. And so, like, that's what you're inviting in. That's what private equity is inviting in. And it is a massive gamble, because the idea is we're going to take a loan and we're basically going to put it against what we believe is our next TV contract, our next big media deals that are going to be significantly bigger, and then we're going to be able to pay that back, the interest included, with that extra money. Except the problem there is that is a massive gamble that you're going to make enough on the next media deal that's going to matter.
So
right?
So you're 100% right, okay? And I think first off, the fears of private equity, you hit the nail on the head there. So we'd have to kind of see the specifics of a deal, right? So it's so hard to react to this without knowing what the parameters of the deal are. The Pac-12 reportedly turned down a deal for private equity back in 2018 that was $1 billion to the Pac-12 for 15% equity stake. You'd think, years later here in 2024, that would increase with the Big 12. But regardless, the Pac-12 as a league basically doesn't exist anymore because they didn't make any moves, though they got many. We're still waiting on that Pac-12 TV deal to come through, I think. But here's the thing. You really need a lot of money. Otherwise, you could go the way of the Pac-12. And so I think the money here is for two things. The money here is for the other sports, talking about everything that is not football, because the football can most likely sustain itself based on the money that they currently have. It's the issue of, are you going to support softball? Are you supporting baseball? Are you supporting gymnastics? What sports are you supporting? And remember, in a world of capitalism, you have to pick and choose which sports you can invest in, because it takes a lot of money to invest in those sports. You used to have 11.7 scholarships on a baseball team. Now you're going to have a full baseball team with scholarship athletes. It just makes it difficult to compete in those sports if you're not fully invested. And if you've got to be fully invested in football, which you have to be, obviously, to make money, you're not going to be fully invested in baseball. So a big portion of that money, I think, is going to be earmarked to help, the Big 12 compete in sports not called football. The other thing is to make the Big 12 attractive once the ACC falls apart. And if you've got a situation where North Carolina and Clemson and Florida State figure out a way to bolt and the ACC falls apart, well, now you might have teams that are, do we go to the Big 10 and take a reduced rate? Do we go to the SEC and take half or a quarter of the because none of those other ACC schools are going to get full shares. Well, the Big 12 could, with private equity, be in position to give full shares. So, the cons are there, and they're obvious. The issue is you may not exist if you don't do this. It is a gamble.
I mean, the exist part is, you could say the conference doesn't exist, but the only way the conference doesn't exist is if the teams have somewhere else to go.
True.
Right? The idea of not existing is that the SEC and the Big Ten branch off and leave you behind. And so you exist just in a very different
stratosphere,
very different looking sports reality. Okay?
But
that would probably
But for all intents and purposes of this conversation, that is not existing.
Well, I mean, at this point, if they want something, if those two conferences want some of your teams, they're going to take them anyway. Like, even with an influx like that, like I just, and look, we talk sometimes about like teams getting booted from a conference. Like, to me, private equity that would be the thing that would cause that to happen. Of like, hey, these aren't working. These are the parts we're going to start selling off to try and benefit ourselves better. I just. Like, I get the cash flow inflow there's, to me, the proven negatives that we have seen from this time again so drastically outweigh the fingers crossed hope this works the way we think it will positives, that it is such a massive game. I mean, like, and this isn't a shot at the Big 12. It's like, all right, I've got all my money here. I got my whole life savings. I'm going to put it on the horse that's picked like 6th to win. If it works, I'm set for life. But if it doesn't, and the likelihood of it not working is way higher than it doing, I feel like you're signing your death warrant anyway.
But you owe so many debts, they're cutting off your knees anyways. Either if you don't pick a horse, or if you pick a horse and the horse loses, they're cutting off your knees anyway. Might as well pick a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, look, baseball's not going to suddenly make money.
No.
Right? Women's basketball may be on a path to I want to say making money, but getting,
Well, but even then, it's only like, we're not, the sport might. That doesn't mean that individual, like the teams across the country are going to.
Right,
like,
so
individual
none
teams
of these
might.
sports are going to start making money.
No.
So your point is well stated. Private equity, they're not in the business to be losing money in investments.
No. They're not going to be like, oh, great, you gave a bunch of money to what?
Equestrian? Swimming and diving?
Swimming and diving?
We're done with that. That was fun. And that's why...
Beach volleyball?
It's hard to read. Hey, Big 12 now, a powerhouse beach volleyball program.
Yes.
Arizona State.
Rifle? Hey, you know what? It's private. Guns are good, I just, like, that's the idea that they're going to be, like, psyched about you.
$40 million more per year.
I just, like... There's going to have to be some
Let me put it this way.
like,
I'll put it this way. Mike Gundy has been walking on water, and so too have Bill Snyder and Chris Kleiman, in terms of maximizing. Can they continue to do that in a world where now you've already been down in revenue and opportunity? Now you're 1-2. Like, they've been doing it, and I know that it's like, oh, they've already been doing it. This is not new hat, and maybe they'll continue to do it. But it's a lot bigger of a difference here.
Yeah. No,
give me 60 revenue streams that give me 1 to 2 million. All right, Phil, if you got that, we'll do that.
No, and I get it. Like, you're in a bad spot. Like, it just is.
Yeah.
Like, and you're not going to make that up. And here's the other problem is, like, let's say that you do this, and it does get you closer to them. What's to say the next time the SEC and the Big 10 deals come around that they don't they don't see an increase too. Like this idea that you're going to start closing the gap is also operating under the idea that that gap's not going to widen further down the line as well. Like you can just keep chasing, you can chase your tail over and over and over and over again, right? Like the likelihood you're going to actually catch it, that rabbit's faster than you. And
you're totally right. Here's the other part to this too, right? Like you have to find revenue streams that the SEC and the Big Ten don't want to copy, right? Because otherwise they can match everything. Right. The SEC is not selling the naming rights to the SEC. No. The Big Ten's not selling the naming rights to the Big Ten. The SEC is not going to private equity. The Big Ten aren't going to. So the issue here too is, and we saw this already with the reporting, Conference USA is looking at selling their naming rights, America, right? So like, you have to find the revenue streams that the SEC and the Big Ten won't do, and that's what these two are.
Got anything out? Any other options? Like, I get it, and I'm getting. Let's bring this full circle. I'm getting old. I'm turning 40, and as I get older, the reality of some of these things that people have been negative about for so long that I'm like, nah, it'll be fine. I'm like, I'm not going to stop watching or caring or loving sports or loving the All-State 12 or whatever it's going to be called. Or the CVC 12 or whatever investment group's going to come in and burn the whole thing to the ground and sell it for parts. How do you sell a conference for parts? Do you just start taking teams like, congratulations, you're going to the WAC. We're gonna sell you to Mexico. Congratulations, Utah. You now actually belong to Russia. Like I don't know how that one of you is going to get sold to Dr. Pepper is going to actually buy Baylor Athletics and rebrand it as the DP Bears. I'm sure they'd be fine with that.
Russia, you own the rights to Utah.
Congratulations,
Russia. University.
Just the university's athletic department. Not even the school as a whole.
You can't sell BYU though. That wouldn't go well.
No. They've got enough. The church would just buy it.
Yeah,
they'd be fine.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually it's the BYU. I shouldn't go. The Mormon Church bought Utah also, and then sold them to Russia. That's what happened. You can edit that out.
No, I will not. That I'm clipping that. I'm posting it everywhere. Just to anger Utah fans. Ari, this has been great as always. I will end on this. But we have to do this. What's the one company that should buy the naming rights to the Big 12 Conference?
I mean, I'll jump on the guy on Twitter who said Southwest Airlines. Why not? Why not Southwest Conference?
Southwest Conference.
And honestly, with the additions of Arizona State, it makes more sense now than ever before.
Oh, it would be the best. Oh, everyone would love it. It would be incredible. Oh.
Yep. Do it, Southwest Airlines. Do it. You're the reason we don't have high-speed rail in Texas now, because of you. So do it. This is what you got to do for us. Bring us back to Southwest Conference.
It's that or Quick Trip, so you can call it the Truck Stop Conference.
Well, let's give Gabe Eichert our love and loves gas station.
Loves. Okay, look. They've attached themselves to OU, who's going to the SEC. So we'll ride with Quick Trip.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, you could do Come and Go, but I don't know if Come 12 sounds great.
Yeah,
that's where we end. Ari, as always, it's a pleasure, sir. Do me a favor, where can everybody find you?
Check me out on Twitter at Ari Sports, ARI Sports, and make sure to check out Big 12 Radio, Show 375. Thanks, Phil. You're the best, buddy. Appreciate you.
Podcast Network.